It seems as though you're trying to point fingers at the Democratic Party. As an individual that has grown up in an alt-right area, I am no stranger to listening to other opinions, so I appreciate you coming out and saying your opinion. I just think that you're pointing a lot of fingers at us currently, and I feel as though as a nation, the Republican and the Democratic Party should be working together, not pointing fingers rather, but coinciding and working together to create bills and better plans for our country. And I think this is the way that we can fix America. How do you feel about that?
I agree 100%. I'm a product of the Reagan years. If you remember, Reagan and the Democrats legislated tax bills together. They did Social Security commissions together. They did a tax reform in 1986 together. There was a lot of bipartisan support for the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty with Gorbachev and the Russians. Not that there wasn't disagreement, but there was the ability to work together. And the media reflected that debate. CNN, for example, had a famous show, Crossfire, and they would have Pat Buchanan on the right, Michael Kinsley on the left. That's the America I came of age in, and I long for it now. The reason, but we don't live in that America. Think of it, would CNN today dare to have a show in which they had, let's just say, for example, me against Rachel Maddow? I mean, a debate, admittedly, that would be more like one hand clapping, but nevertheless, they wouldn't dare. And they won't, when they cancel Crossfire, they decided to go full left. They'll have a panel of 8 people, they're all anti-Trump. They don't allow debate. So how do you expect to have compromise when the mainstream media has arrayed its guns against Trump and they see their job as trying to take him out? If you want to know why I seem passionate now and not quite the same guy I was in 1985, it's this. I always thought American politics was a fair-minded debate between reasonable people who disagree, and I wrote and conducted myself that way. But then when I went through what I did with the Obama administration, when I stood in a courtroom and heard a bailiff go, United States of America versus Dinesh D'Souza, when I began to deal with these people, I realized we have seen a gangsterization of the US government. I will tell you, based upon the deepest bone in my being, that if the Obama administration could have locked me up for 20 years, for giving a $20,000 political contribution, they would have done it. They would have been delighted to do it because they did not see me as a critic, but as a deadly enemy that they needed to take out. That was the way they looked at it. And so I'm saying, you're very naive if you don't realize that this is going on in America. This is, today, we don't live in an America where if the government comes after you, they're not going to send 2 gentlemen with a file to talk to you. They're going to send police cars, helicopters overhead, automatic weapons, and until it happens to you, you won't believe it. But when it does happen to you, you do become politically somewhat radicalized because you realize this is going on in our America, and we do need, before we can have compromise, we need to stop it.
Lincoln was elected to unite a country and stop slavery. Democrats smeared him, went to war against him, assassinated him. Now their target is Trump. They say he's a racist, a fascist. But who are the real racists and fascists? A nation dies, but its people are not free. It's now up to us to save America a second time.